Right, so in today's video we're back on the bottom tier bent fescue lawn in the garden. I just want to kind of give you a bit of an update today as to how it's looking, what's actually happened to this lawn since the last time you saw it on a video. There's a few things I want to do as well. I want to give this lawn a cut, and we've got a little bit of weed grass knocking about as well. So I'll be talking a little bit about that as we go. But first and foremost, let's have a chat about what's actually happened to this lawn since the last time you saw it. I'm not sure how well it picks up on camera, but it's looking much greener than what it did around about 5 or 6 days ago. So what I did notice was we weren't getting loads of yellowing, but we were getting little sort of yellow spaces knocking about, even though the turf was starting to really thicken up and becoming much more dense than what it was. I was noticing we were losing a little bit of colour in the lawn. So what I did was I got on around about 5 days ago with a liquid feed which had quite a high percentage of nitrogen, also had a little bit of iron in there as well. And what it's done is it's really made that colour pop, and every single yellow blade, no words of a lie, has absolutely gone. I mean, it looks darker on the screen where you're looking now because it's in the shade, but yeah, even in the daylight it looks superb. But because we did get on with quite a high percentage of nitrogen, we're getting quite a bit of growth out of this lawn. So let's start off by getting the mower, let's give it a cut, see what it looks like. You don't often get to see inside the garage, mainly because you can see from the state of it now. It's in an absolute mess, but you can see it got all my different lawnmowers. We've got the Hater, we've got the Bosch, and we've got the Alice over here. I even have somewhere, it's over there, one of those small web cylinder mowers, which I'm going to be looking at hopefully in the next few weeks. But we're not using the Haters today because that's what I've been using on my ryegrass lawns. I'm not using the Bosch because the blade is in a terrible shape, and it's what I use on lawns that are not that nice. Well, they're okay, they're decent, but they do have a few weeds in there. They have a little bit of bark knocking about, which obviously dings the blade up. Today we're going with ye old faithful, the Alice. And someone commented recently just to say, you know, it's a bit overkill to use a lawnmower at this sort of size and this price on a small lawn, particularly what I've got in the garden. But unless the lawnmower is ridiculously too big, it doesn't really matter. Some people like to do lawn care on a budget. Some people like to spend a stupid amount of money on a lawnmower to just get a tiny bit nicer of a cut. I'm in the latter of those two choices. Now what I do want to make sure that I do today is, oh hang on, 40 kilos of mower there, not very light. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bag all of the clippings today. So a few times recently I've been leaving the clippings on because they are absolutely tiny and they're going to decompose in no time. And when you collect the clippings from your lawn, you're taking a lot of goodness out of it, because obviously there's a lot of goodness inside of the grass blades. If you remove it all, you're obviously taking some nutrient content out of the sward. However, we've got the odd little bit of weed grass knocking about, not a lot, a tiny amount. But if I cut without the grass collector on, what's going to happen is I'm going to disturb those seeds. I'm going to spread them around the lawn, and then I'm going to end up with a bit of an issue, which I don't want to obviously be having. Sorry, my zip's doing me nothing. So yeah, let's give this a quick cut. The paper, by the way, is from when I adjusted the mower blade slightly. I just made sure that the bottom blade was set perfectly the other day. I'm going to cut the other direction as well, so just make sure that we get as good a cut as possible. So not a lot's going to come off on this pass, but will make a difference to the actual health of the lawn. You can actually see, if we look at what's come off the lawn, it's not a massive amount of grass, to be honest, but it is really, really small. However, it's things like this as to why I got on using the grass collection box. I'm not sure how well you can see that there. There we go. So you can see, got a little bit of weed grass. You can see the seed heads right up at the top. And if you're not taking these off your lawn, you're just asking for a disaster. One thing I've been making sure I do every single day is just giving the lawn a quick sweep just to check if there are any weed grass plants. I'd say it probably pulls about 20, 25 in maybe the past 5 or 6 days. So there's not a massive amount knocking about in this lawn, but if you don't get rid of them now, you're only going to make the problem worse. And the best way to see them, usually, here we go, there's one right here. So I'm not sure how well you can see it on camera there, but you can just about see in person the little seed heads, and that's what you want to be looking for. So what I usually do is have a look around, see if there's any other stolons knocking about the lawn. Just give it a wiggle, and it should hopefully come out. You can see the roots are quite shallow. I have pulled some of the grass out there with it as well, but you can just see, whoa, get close, the seed heads up at the top. So this is the sort of stuff I want to be getting rid of. You can see there's these little black things here. These are old weed grasses that what I've been doing is chucking them on the side here, come out with the weed burner and destroying them that way, killing them with fire in the hopes that they don't return. I mean, even this bad boy here, he's just sneaking at the front. You can hardly tell. Give it a wiggle. See, I didn't get much of the root there, so he's going to come back. So you have got to be careful. Oh, hang on, it's got a stole on some of the roots. So that one's most likely, it is going to come back. Obviously, if you've got quite a big lawn, this is going to be quite a difficult task to do, because all you're going to end up doing is spending all your time looking for these weeds. And granted, I've got a really small lawn, so I can do it for mine, whereas you might want to come out once a week just to check. I mean, in the early stage, when the plant's growing, where it doesn't have little seed heads, there isn't anything really to worry about. However, once it starts getting those seed heads, like again, this little one over there, you can actually see it. I'm not sure if you can see from there, but it stands up quite tall. If you don't deal with them, once those seed heads do the thing, I just snapped them again. It's because I'm talking. I'm distracted, one sec. Little wiggle seems to do it. If you don't deal with them now, it's going to be a disaster moving forward. And because this is Ben fescue, what I'm not doing is I'm not overseeding the spaces, because as the plant matures, it is naturally going to fill itself in. So I don't need to necessarily worry about doing that at the present moment. Again, down here you can see it's quite obvious in the lawn where they are, and it's got those little seed heads at the top that we want to be really delicate with. We don't want to break any of them, and that's why if you use scarification to remove weed grasses, then the problem you can have is you can actually burst the seed head. I mean, that one doesn't have seeds on it, but you can see it's a weed grass. It's a slightly different colour, it's a thicker blade, a weed grass nonetheless. Give it time, it's going to get seed heads on it. Like I was just said, if you scarify the area or use a power rake to rake it all up, all you're going to end up doing is bursting those seed heads, and then what's going to happen is you're going to get weed grass seeds all over the place. That's something you really want to avoid. If you catch them at this early stage, especially with a newly seeded lawn, the weed grasses have just as much chance as the other grasses at establishing themselves. Get in. There's a little mate next door. His mate was a part of him. It's a part of him. Don't force them out. Just prize them. Take your time. They will come. You just got to make sure you don't rush it, because you can end up with weed grass still, and you'll be able to see parts of the plant that it's a part of still. It's known as like an opportunistic plant, because what it does is it takes any opportunity to establish itself in your lawn. I'll talk in a moment about some of the best ways to combat weed grass. In terms of how you get them in your lawn, they can come from literally anywhere. You could have been walking on another patch of grass that's got weed grass on, and if the seeds get onto your shoes and then you walk onto your lawn, you can pass it to your lawn that way. That's one way you can get weed grasses. You can blow in from a neighbour's lawn, and sometimes some of the seeds are just sitting dormant in your lawn. So preventing them can be quite a challenge, but there is one thing you can absolutely do, and it's the best thing you can do to your lawn, and that's to cut on a regular basis. So with this being a Ben fescue lawn, the best way to actually thicken up the plant is to cut it on a regular basis. Every time I cut the plant, every time I prune it, it's going to encourage more lateral growth, and the more lateral growth that we actually get out the plant, it means that outcompetes the power annua, the weed grass. Like I said before, it's an opportunistic plant. It takes any opportunity to bed itself in. Spaces like this in front of me now, where there's a bit of bare soil, that's where weedgrass can potentially find its way. When you've got a really thick sward like this, it's really difficult for any weed grasses to actually work their way through, and inevitably they will. It's just more about when they do try to germinate, what's the best thing we can do. So we can prevent them by pruning, we can remove them by pulling them. Weed killers ain't going to cut it on this one. Not even Weedle is going to be your mate. You may notice that it's more at this time of year when you're fertilising your lawn and the weather's quite nice, that you start getting those weed grasses encroaching on your lawn. And that's just because you're fertilising the weed grass as well as the grass that you want to fertilise too. So you will find that when you put a feed down, they're going to become much more prominent in the lawn because you've effectively fed the plant. So what you can do is you can put these in a little bucket and you can chuck them in your wheelie bin. However, the cooler way to do it would be to burn them. And at least you then know by burning them, you burn those seed heads, there's no way they're ever coming back. It's entirely optional though, don't be thinking that you have to actually burn your weeds to actually get rid of them. So there we go, I've rabbited enough in today's video. But yeah, it's all about cutting your grass on a regular basis. Pull the weeds when you see them, keep on top of it, feed it to keep it looking green. And boss, so if you enjoyed the video or found it useful, feel free to give it a like. If you're not already, consider subscribing. And yeah, the Instagram is always in the description below. And finally, thanks for watching.